this is take 2. And it's saying I have an excellent connection. In case you're not aware.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
They took me down after 20 minutes. So if this is the first show you've seen, you'll have to go back and watch part 1 if you want the classic introduction and all this other stuff. And to see some of my Instagram photos and stuff. This is the second day in a row this has happened. Over the past several weeks, they've been doing this, cutting me off coldly, actually, at some points, and all sorts of things generally, on a regular basis. So it can't be an algorithm. It has to be human. Some idiot, some woke yokel who's sitting around half asleep, whatever, somebody like this.
Why do you think your own survival depends upon emotion from us? Should we pity you? Empathize with your plight?
I'll tell you what, all you people over at Google, YouTube Studio, and Alphabet and stuff, all your days are numbered. You think you're going to have a job in a couple of years? You're going to have a job. You think you're going to have like an income that's like, they're going to pay you rent, right? People talk about this guaranteed income thing, Hey, forgive our student debts and give us a guaranteed income so we could just hang around and protest all day. Then what? That's what this shirt's all about. Then what? Then what are you going to do? First of all, if they did give you a guaranteed income, it'd be lucky if it would be enough to pay the rent. You seen the prices of rents, the price of real estate? No data, it says. And yet kilobytes per second are like at 2843. So it is a human being over at YouTube Studio messing with me. I just want to let you guys know that the terms of service apply both ways. So you need to read your own terms of service, whoever you are. Some stooge messing with me. Because you're in violation of your own terms of service. You see? I'm not breaking any terms of service. I'll tell you, man. And this could have been
the station for more fun in the sun.
But, they don't want that. They don't want us to have fun. No fun allowed. No fun allowed. Don't let the truth out. Can't let the truth out. Don't let the people know about the sun. See, because if people know about the sun, that the sun is not only the major existential threat, they might just not pay attention to the networks and the cable news channels or the social media millionaires, right? To the Tim Pools or even the Joe Rogans. These pundits, these interviewers, these talkers, right? Talking heads, right? But they don't tell you anything. All they do is they look at an article that somebody else, some other one of their ilk has come up with, and they sit around and talk about it and either criticize it or whatever. Occasionally bring on a guest who talks about this. I mean, it's farcical. Nothing's happened. There's been just talk for the past 20 or 30 years, and that's why we got in this situation. We've done nothing. We've gone nowhere. We have a whole generation, 2 generations of people raised on falsities. In other words, it's like I say, it's indoctrination and conditioning, which is true. But it's like mostly they have just a warped view of reality, too. It's like it's beyond, indoctrination for the purpose of following the totalitarian state and standing in lockstep, yes, sir, type of stuff. No. It's worse than that. These people are clueless. They're functionally illiterate, according to the education department. You got psychopaths on the cabinet. You got a president who got dementia. All right? I mean, let's call it the way it is. I mean, it is what it is. So this is what I'm trying to say. So who cares anymore about you guys? This is the best show. This is the best show on YouTube, if you think about it. Maybe even TV in general. People don't have all this kind of stuff,
Rise and shine, sleepyhead. It's a brand new day.
People don't have any intros, sound effects. They get stupid things. That thing Joe Rogan has spinning around that head, the bald-headed guy thing. There used to be a guy on YouTube in the real early days who had that before he did. He stole that. Right? I'd like him to I just can't remember the name of that guy because I used to watch that guy before I even realized Joe Rogan, probably before Joe Rogan was even into podcasting. But maybe he was doing some early stuff. But there was this guy who used to sit at a desk. Behind him was I could describe it. He was a bald-headed guy. He used to sit at a desk. And he was no holds barred. He was talking about this kind of stuff this is 15 years, I'm talking early days, like the very beginning of YouTube. The first, when I was on the first month, one of the real first people to do it. Behind him, he had a humidor. The guy was an ex-soldier, fought in the Iraqi War. And he was out there and he would just tell it like it is. And one day he just stopped. But he had this intro. He was one of the first guys to do one of those things. And it was an intro that Joe Rogan uses. I'd really like somebody to get to the bottom of that, if anybody remembers that. See, I can't remember the guy's name, but I used to watch him. But it's so long ago. I mean, this is over a decade, and this is really a long time ago. 15 years, whenever this whole thing, So it's out of sight, out of mind for so long. So I can't even check the Wayback Machine or anything weird like that because I can't even think of the guy's name. I forget, but I remember him clearly. I used to watch him regularly. He was the dude. He was the one. He called everything out and called it out right. I don't know what happened to him. He just gave up. He just said whatever. Maybe him and his wife just said, screw it. He already had already had land and was growing food and doing things and he with the stuff that guys like Tim Pool and these other people are doing now, with their little compounds and stuff. This guy was doing this before these guys even, when they were boys. I mean, Tim Pool's not that old. When they were boys. That's what I try to say. I don't know how old some of these people are, but I was on the internet 35 frickin' years ago. Sending emails internationally and within, in interstate and intrastate, whatever. 35 years ago. People think they know what's going on. You don't know anything. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Everything you know is wrong. You don't know. You do not know. I took a little swig of this ginger turmeric something that had some pepper in it to help for absorption. But I did eat an apple beforehand. And I took that with a couple of, I take a little milk thistle and I took a, one of those fish oil pills too. I didn't take the Chonka Piedra. I only have one of those left and I don't know. I might be done with that. I don't really think. I have a doctor's appointment next week. I'm going to see if she'll give me a blood, do the blood test thing. It's been about 6 months, or close to it. And I want to see what my numbers look like, consider I've had some of these problems. And I'm glad to see that it is actually, I do have an appointment next Monday, so it's only a week away. So I should be able to survive till then. Yesterday, it was like, whew. If I wouldn't have felt good this morning when I woke up, it would have been a pain. I would have been trying to make an appointment, pushing the appointment up. Well, that's the thing, what are they messing with me for? This whole disinformation thing. I'm sorry if you tuned in for the someday soon the sun will shed its outer surface. I mean, I'm talking about that too. But this is also important. It's like, because it's all part of this disinformation ministry of truth nonsense. It's like, why are they so paranoid? Like, why did the CIA hide the document about this Earth catastrophe caused by the sun and release a redacted version of it 50 years later? Right? That's not, you could go to CIA.gov. I've done it already so many times, I mean, I have the darn thing here. I mean, for crying out loud. I mean, it's like, what's this feature image? I'll just show it to you just because you're such people don't believe anything now. It's like that, what do they say? There's a terminology for it. Source, right? Source. How about this? Declassified, sanitized copy approved for release back in 2013. CIA, some kind of fucked up number. You could go to CIA.gov and find this. This isn't like fake. All right? All right? Now, let's just look at part of this just to get, because I'm not going to go through the whole things. Across the continent, 1,000 miles per hour wind reeks in unholy vengeance everywhere mercilessly. Okay? Every living thing is ripped into shreds while being blown across the countryside, and the earthquake leaves no place untouched. In many places, the Earth's molten layer, I'm reading it about fourth paragraph down. Molten sublayer breaks through and spreads a sea of white-hot liquid fire to add to the Holocaust. Within 3 hours, the fantastic wall of water moves across the continent, burying the wind-ravaged land under 2 miles of seething water coast to coast. In a fraction of a day, now listen to this. In a fraction of a day, all vestiges of civilization are gone, and the great cities, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, Dallas, New York, blah, 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 are nothing but legends. Barely a stone is left where millions walked just a few hours before. Now, why would the CIA classify that document and eventually in 2013 release a redacted version of it? And you think you know, and you're watching the frickin' news and reading an app and walking around with your face shoved in a smartphone? I'm telling you, not only everything you know is wrong and you don't know what you don't know, it's beyond your wildest dreams, because while you've been in dreamland, wonderful school, and goofball awoke dreamland, there's all kinds of stuff going on. It's the frickin' future. And I know people who hear that because they're born in the 90s or the early 2000s, they're like, what do you mean it's the future? It's just my life. It's the frickin' future, you fuck. You don't get it. It's like yesterday's show where I was trying to tell you, we've been here before. You just don't get it, man.
Back in time, 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 back in time.
You understand, These people are lying to you. They've been lying to you. Everything you know is wrong. The weather, the climate, it's like cyclical. It's mostly caused by the sun, and other things are caused by our weakened magnetic field. And that's cyclical too. Time magazine cover, was saying that the ice age was coming in the late 70s. Like I say, 2,000 people in the U.S. died of a flood in the late 70s. They never told you about that because you weren't born, or you were a baby or a toddler. Some of you, your parents might not have been born. Everything you know is wrong, and you don't know what you don't know. You probably don't even know about the Younger Dryas period and that near extinction event. Right? You're worrying, it's like people talking about, like, what was it, the 16-something project or whatever, as if the Native Americans were native to this continent, to North America. They weren't. 10,600 years ago, you couldn't live in North America. That's when the saber-toothed tiger and the woolly mammoth and the giant bear, whatever the hell that thing was called, those things went all extinct. They were flash frozen, found with food, undigested food in their stomachs when they dug them up. Did you know that? Were you taught that in school? No, you weren't taught that in school. This stuff happens every 12,000 years, man. The evidence is in now. Okay, it's there. It's not disputable. You don't even know about it. That's like you don't even know that CO2 is 0.004%. That 99.9% of the atmosphere is argon, oxygen, and is nitrogen. 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and 0.9% argon, which is 99.9% of our atmosphere. So CO2 is what they call a trace gas. They call it a greenhouse gas because they used to pump it into greenhouses. They still do, to make the plants grow. That's why it's a greenhouse gas, you goofball. Did anybody ever teach you that? No. Oh, it has to do with the way it reflects up the clouds and the sun and some kind of thing. I'm so sick of people like you. You drive me up
Why
a
do you
wall.
think your own survival depends upon emotion from us? Should we pity you? Empathize with your plight?
Yeah. 0.004. We need to double CO2 right now. I'm serious. Because we got crop shortages, and the best way to double to improve productivity and growth, and from plants, crops, is we need the more CO2 the better. CO2 doesn't cause any problems. I mean, there's probably people out there that when some smelly old truck goes by, spewing out carbon monoxide, right? Yeah, that guy should be fined. His truck should be, impounded until he repairs it and gets rid of that those spewing out those poisons. That's called what we call pollution. All right. CO2 isn't pollution. You can't even see it. It's an invisible gas. You can't smell it. You're exhaling it all the time. Right? You inhale oxygen and exhale CO2, among other things. That's why wearing these kinds of things is crazy, because you're breathing in things that, that's the funniest thing. See, that's the hypocrite. See those coal trucks? That's the other hypocrisy that's going on. They're going that's how our electricity is in many parts of the country. It comes from coal, clean coal. And fracked gas. I know I'm in a weird, crazy mood, and this is driving some people crazy.
Brilliant!
I know. Yay.
Really funny. Really funny.
I don't care anymore. See, I just don't care anymore.
It's an excursion into the odd and into the very, very different.
Yeah, it's more than that, though, man. More than that.
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Yeah, war-profiteers, big pharma, big ag, the Federal Reserve. All these people are a bunch of idiots. It's like these kind of people. My neighbor mowed her lawn yesterday after she put down, and I watched her. And she had a glove on her hand, so she had some smarts enough to know that. She was sticking her hand in a bag of lawn weed control. And she was like putting this stuff out all over her lawn by the fence that leads on the other side of the fence. Of course, you know, I have a garden. What am I supposed to do? Now, fortunately, this was done after we had the deluge and the rain so that stuff isn't all washed in. So I have 4 days to somehow dig, trenches and pour bags of concrete so that the next time it rains and there's seepage, that stuff doesn't come over and kill all my or get into my plants. But I have my lettuce growing on that side, though there is a little bit of a barrier, because I've had, maybe that's one good thing about this rat.
I am your main connection to the switchboard of souls. I'm the magic man.
Is that I've plugged up so many holes with concrete and rocks and things like that, that the likelihood of stuff, of stuff on the surface being washed, even things that are down 4 or 6 inches, because I usually go down fairly deep when I plug these holes, and that a lot of those kind of plants, surface plants, don't have deep roots, so that anything that the possibility of something getting through that fence, if it could break deep under the concrete that I've put in. I've got to get more concrete today or tomorrow. But anyway, man,
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy,
This is Metropolitan Police speaking. Metropolitan Police speaking. All persons are warned to stay off the streets. All persons are warned to stay off the streets.
Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
Your papers, please.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Presenting the world's greatest everything.
Yeah, that's me, the world's greatest everything. So, yeah, that was a nice little rant, little weird, like, who knows, went into some kind of zone. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Look, it's the sun. Every 12,000 years, it has what's called a micronova. All right? It sheds out its outer skin. I read the thing to you. It's like curtains. The odds of you surviving, I don't care how rich you are, there's no guarantee anybody's going to survive. It's like rolling the dice. Okay? That's that. We had a thing called the Carrington event that happened back in the 1800s. Took out the telegraph. There were telegraph poles at the time, telegraph lines. That's what we had. Those wires, they were shot. That would be the equivalent of our power grid. Some telegraph stations caught fire even. If that happened today with the power grid we have, in many places in the Midwest, they're still using the old telegraph poles, or they've just replaced them with something that looks just like it, right? Another wooden straight, tree. That's basically what a telephone pole is, right? And, yeah. And that's the end of it. And and as far as I know, I know no one's bought one of went to Great Solar Stuff and bought one of my power backup things, bought through there. Nobody's wearing my shirts to spread the word. Nobody's listening to my beat poetry tracks. Nobody's reading any of my 10 books. And nobody's watching this frickin' show. And YouTube is cutting me off almost on a daily basis now. And it's like you have to ask the question, why would they hide something so devastating? So you understand we're at the 12,000-year cycle time right now. In fact, there's a convergence of several cycles that are happening. We're in the midst of, we're very close to what's called a pole shift, which could literally alter life as we know it on this planet, have devastating effects, all right? Change everything you know, all right? A Carrington event, like I told you, which is a little bit minor, but it's still a grid down situation. They'll never get it back up. Just think about it when the grid goes down because there's ice, a tree falls on line somewhere in certain key places. Sometimes it takes them weeks for, they got to pull in linemen from another state and stuff to get the power up. Well, imagine if the national grid went down. It would take them so long to get the grid back up. They would never get it back up. And here's why. You'll say, well, of course they would. It'd just be a big project. No, it wouldn't be. There aren't enough people to do it within a time frame that would deal with the people who would be looting, the smash and grabbers and the opportunistic looters. See, after 3 days of not eating, people go wacko, humans. Now, not people like me. I'll eat saltine crackers and stuff. I'll survive. I've got a garden out back. That's why in the first part of this show, which got kicked off, go to my Instagram page. All right? There's a link of it on my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is called ROCKFLUX. And you could see a little Instagram thing there. And check out, I'm growing a garden. And I'll take you along for that ride. Or you just go to my YouTube channel, look at some of my garden videos from previously. But, these people, they'll just be going, they'll go crazy. All they know is fast food and, junk food, frozen pizzas and microwave meals and shit. They'll have the grocery stores emptied within 3 days. Within a week, they'll do what they did. They never covered that story that happened. It happened in South Africa. And in South Africa, after they emptied all the grocery stores, they started going to distribution, found the distribution centers. So they started pillaging the distribution centers. And in certain parts of the country, not all over, but in the parts of the country where this was happening, there was nothing to be found. And, it was just like Party City, eat, like, gluttonous eating. And then they were starving. Because that's what these people do. Who are these people? Americans. All right? Your next door neighbor, person you think is sane, a friend, a relative of yours. There's a good Twilight Zone episode about that. A guy who had a bomb shelter and there was something and the power was out and everybody thought, and they finally, and I think they broke in and I think they even shot somebody or something happened. And then the power came back on and here it was just some weird thing that happened. And they were all thinking it was like aliens, end of the world, nuclear war, Russia, or something like that. People freak out within days, man. So if we had a grid down situation that was, caused by the sun, we have a weakened magnetic field, a pole shift. Forget about this thing I'm talking about. It's game over. And like I said, it's game over anyway because 40,000 of us Americans are dying every week because of the food we eat that's approved by the FDA. If you go to cdc.gov and look up leading causes of death, heart disease is like one of the first, cancer. You know, this is fairly, the list isn't that long, but it's fairly long. It was long enough. Diabetes, type 2 diabetes, obesity, you know, things like that. Kidney diseases. These are all food-related diseases. This is because there's too many carbs and added sugars in our diet. Do you understand that? They're killing us off now. The average life expectancy in the U.S. was reduced by 2 years, and this is before the plague, right? See, everything you know is wrong, and you don't know what you don't know. And I don't understand, you know, this idea is the people in the media, they've drank the Kool-Aid. They believe this. These college professors, it's like a lot of these people, it's not like some conspiracy or they're nefarious. They don't know any better. This whole scheme, this whole craziness has been going on for so long. It's been going on since the 80s, you know. You know, it's these people have been planning this crap. That's what I was trying to say yesterday. You know, in the World's Fairs in the 60s, they had video phones, computers. You know, the Xerox PARC project where Steve Jobs, you know, first saw the mouse and like the visual computer thing. It's created by Xerox, and it was called Xerox PARC, P-A-R-C. All right? That's basically the Mac that changed desktop publishing, but it took until 1985. The commercial came out in 1984, but I had the first Mac. I have it here, you know, in the back. I'll show you. Let me get rid of something here. Give me something to write on. There's my backdrop. There's my face. Here's my T-spot. Here's my whatever. Let me take the ROCKFLUX thing down, wherever the hell that is. I call things different. There. You see it? Right here. It's the first Mac. Look at my face. Hula Girl cigars. Anyway. Where was I? Give me something to write on. That's where I was. Oh, ROCKFLUX. We lost the name of our show. ROCKFLUX.com. Go there. It's got links to everything. Anyway. Yeah. But, you know, these crazies took over in, you know, in the 80s. You know, that show 30-something. I say this all the time. This is going to be the repetitive theme. So if you don't like it, if you like it, subscribe to it because there'll be new insights and different versions, and it'll be augmented each show. But it's going to be the same repetitive thing from here on in because there's nothing more important than talking about the end of the world. All right? And how it's going to happen and how people are such frickin' idiots. Okay? And yeah, you're saying what?
This is insane.
And others of you are.
This is a nightmare. It must be a nightmare.
No, it's not a nightmare, my friend. It ain't a nightmare.
Oh, no.
Pouring some coffee. It's reality. 30 frames a second. That's what the show is. People don't want the truth, right? Why wouldn't you want to know the truth? See, you don't see me talking about prepping. I just talk about common sense. No, I want to know the truth because I want to know what kind of life to live, right? Should I marry the girl and have a kid with her? Or should I, or should I live a different kind of life? Should I grow a garden because there's going to be food shortages and people are going to go crazy? Do I need to put an electric fence around my garden because these people are going to be like jumping over like wild animals? Must get food, must get food, must get food. Right? They don't even know what vegetables are, half these people. They eat DiGiorno pizzas, right? Frozen waffles or some whatever, frozen junk food. Sausages, right? Sausage patties, right? I see people, they get $200 in like government fun, free food, right? Grocery store with their card. And you think, with the price of things being up, that they'd be buying things like, healthy vegetables, if they're omnivores, maybe a steak because they're so expensive, or chicken or something like that. But instead it's like bags of chips, sodas, frozen pizzas, and like, microwave sausage patties and breakfast. It's like 100% crap and candy. I spend $100 some dollars or more, and that's what they've got. I've seen a guy already had so much of that junk in his thing that it was over his thing. Like it was like $150. He had to like take some stuff out. And he was like, and he wouldn't take this, like the sodas and the chips and the frozen pizzas and stuff. And so he was looking, and he was on the phone with his mother. This is how crazy it is. A grown man, and he was living in his mom's house, I guess. And, and I think she was like yelling at him because you could see the expression on his face, and I'm stuck in line. There's nothing worse than being one checkout line, and you're watching this. And she's probably telling him, well, I put the chips back and put this stuff back and make sure you get me my, whatever, right? So she wants to cook something. And he's like, well, I'll tell you, man.
Hey, it's me. How you doing, man?
Ay, caramba, I'm on a roll. I'm on a frickin' roll. Hey, and don't forget, whenever there's a rainstorm, to make sure you buy a plastic jug, a gallon of milk, and a big giant pack of white bread. What the is that all about? See those coal trucks? That's how your battery-powered car, your EV, your Tesla is powered on coal power. And not coal, it's natural gas. And they're feeding you this line like 2030, there's not going to be any more of that stuff. That's like the biggest joke of a lie that I've ever heard in my life. Right? What do you get? Freeze out the whole, or like let the whole northern part of the United States just freeze. Where do you think people get their heat from? Right? I heard one thing. I told this on another story. I think it was like $100 billion fund. I hope it was $100 billion because $100 million would do nothing. But even $100 billion is a drop in the bucket. If they were going to have this process where they were going to take houses, but I think all they could do is like 1 million. I don't know how many houses, but even if it was a couple of million houses, and they were going to pay to have their houses made what they call, sustainable. So get rid of their gas furnaces and put some kind of solar power or some kind of thing, or do this, that, the other to them. The only problem is, there's, 100 million or more households in the U.S. All right. There's houses like mine that simply you can't change. I mean, I have a gas furnace. The roof doesn't have a big enough footprint to run on solar. Right. My challenge to Elon Musk is, use this as a test house. I'm all for it. My roof leaks right now. You want to try putting solar on there and see if it's enough to power this? People have dishwashers. I don't. I wash my dishes by hand because basically it's me. So I just got to wash one dish. Sometimes I don't even need a dish. If I cook pasta like I did yesterday, I cook it in the pot. I had everything in the pot. I put a hot pad down on my bar counter. I sit down on my bar stool with a fork, sprinkle some Parmesan cheese on it, eat it right out of the pot. So the only thing I got to wash is the fork and the pot that I cooked it in. And the cutting board that I chopped up some garlic and, vegetables. It's weird. People are weird. People don't know how to cook. I have to cook today, or I'm going to eat some food out of my garden. I can make a salad. I have enough kale out there. So I guess I might as well do it. You know, the rats have stayed away from that so far. So I just, I just put a big feeding, and they're never around when I'm around. They might be out there right now scrounging by the bird feeder. But I'll put out food there. That'll be that's their main focus and stuff. So they haven't discovered the idea that there's like these tasty things like lettuce and all this other stuff. And I've got beans plants that'll be popping up this week because of the sun. I have those covered with burlap right now, but I'm going to take that burlap off. After all that rain, there's got to be, I get the sun. I think those things are going to start, germinating. The heat. Today it's supposed to be 70, but what happens in my garden is it gets up to 80. Yesterday it was only supposed to be in the 60s, and I was sitting in the chair, and it was like already in the mid 70s. I was feeling like I was getting like a sunburn on my face. And I did. You can't see it in this lighting, because it's a crappy old Mac with the computer thing. And this is one operating system behind. Because I could use a 15-year-old Mac over here to do all this kind of like crazy stuff,
The future. He came from the future.
But, and run all these crazy programs. The same programs that they want you to pay monthly for. Through cloud services and stuff. But they won't, they want you to buy a new one of these and spend a couple of grand. So the corporatocracy took over in the 80s, is to get back to what I was trying to say. And so this whole thing went downhill. There's no hope. And you're just sitting around like with your face in a smartphone? Or glued to the news, watching something, or thinking that like there's the 2022 elections are going to change Congress and there's going to be all this stuff, or that they're going to overturn, something in the Supreme Court or something like that. It's like, then it just goes to the states, and then you see what I mean. And the blue states will just like, say, okay, yeah, you could do it here. See, it's states' rights. And then there's going to be things like, did you see the thing that where, these woke companies are going to pick up the tab for people who want to have one of, what this whole Supreme Court thing. I'm not going to get into the details of it. You know what I'm talking about. So the whole thing's a non-story, really. It's dressing, right? You see what I mean? It's window dressing, they call it. That's what politics is. It's like window dressing. So apart from it all being, hypocrisy for profit, which you can't see, but you can see now. That's the media and politicians. But this is also the media and politicians. They're marionettes. And you're a puppet of them. Because you're like caught up in their world. And you just don't see it. You don't get it. And you won't wear the shirt. You won't wear these shirts because you don't believe it. You think that some cult of personality hero is going to come today on a white horse and save America. See, a lot of people thought Ronald Reagan was that guy on the white horse, right? Because he had the cowboy movies and stuff like that, and then he became in. And he had some pretty good speeches in the early days. He was more libertarian than Republican, right? He had some sensible things, philosophies, before he lost his mind in his last term. But the thing about it is, you have to judge things based upon where we ended up. So is life better today for the average American than it was 50 years ago, right? 40, 50 years ago. half a century ago? And the answer is no. Are you happier and healthier? And the answer is no. Well, if you're like 21 years old, well, nothing's hit you yet. But it will. It will. Did you see that report that came out that 18 to 54-year-olds or something like that were showing higher incidences of death than people older than that? This has nothing to do with the plague. Like there's been this weird, they're calling it an anomaly, but it's not. It's because it was a huge study. In other words, young people are dying right now in major numbers, right? That shouldn't be dying. Like this was presented by insurance companies. I put this on. I had this up. I don't know. Was it a couple of weeks ago? I actually had the site then, and now it's like half out of my mind because I don't obsess with this stuff, and I'm not wasting my brain matter on remembering the news. But that was noteworthy. Yeah, these guys, insurance, that had the CEO of one of the major insurance companies was basically saying, and they said this is statistically 10. If there was a 10% drop, it was like a 40% drop in like the death rate or something among younger people. And he said there's a 10% drop every 200 years. I think it was 200 years. Statistical type of thing happens because of some catastrophe, right? Like I say, these earth catastrophes happen all the time. People just aren't aware of it. But he said the 40%, the numbers that were coming out in this report, and this was a massive report. See, it's by insurance companies. And so insurance companies know the truth because the insurance companies, these people are insured. And so if someone dies, they have to pay out. And so this isn't even like the government playing some game. This is like people who know the numbers. They go like, well, we got this ridiculous increase in insurance claims. People are dying who shouldn't be dying of all kinds of things. I told you, and the death rate in general has gone down. The life expectancy's dropped in the U.S. I don't know what else is going on around the world. Yeah, we're in like Psychoville, man. Crazy times. This is romper room, okay? Yeah, it's nuts. So beyond the sun taking us out, which, is affecting us in three ways: the magnetic field, the 12,000-year extinction event, which will happen in most of our lifetimes, and a big and we're overdue for another Carrington event, CME type of thing, to take down the grid, which is just as bad, because that would just be mayhem. And it would usher in Mad Max, dystopia, within weeks. Within weeks, your life would change, right? You think that things changed when during the plague. No, that was like kind of organized disorganization. Craziness, foolhardiness, and stupid mistakes by a bumbling president who bumbled it too because he trusted all these doofuses, It's a problem with politicians, They believe people, right?
Your papers, please.
And people are worrying about that. We're not going to get to that point. See, this is the whole thing. We're not going to get to the point of a totalitarian state like you think. The Great Reset isn't going to really happen. Western civilization already fell. This is the former United States. It just hasn't like hit you yet. Like See, I know it happened, okay? But you don't know it, and you won't accept it, and you won't believe it. You even go to the grocery store, and you see the price of food, but you still won't accept it. And you'll think, well, it'll be over, right? No. Nothing ever, it just gets worse and worse and worse until it's unbearable. That's my big deal why I'm so, pissed about this rat. Because I have a garden that has enough food to feed, more than feed me and anybody else I wanted to help out. It's a mini farm in my backyard. And I watch my show on how to grow food. Like I say, you could do it in an apartment in a window. It's just that you got to get the soil now. You got to get the pot, the pots to put the soil in. You got to get the seeds. And you might as well get jugs of water and stuff like that in a grid down situation. This is the thing that people don't understand. This is the weird part. And this always annoyed me because even in areas where storms hit and stuff like that, sewage treatment plants and water, getting water to your house type of thing. Those, after like a fairly short period of time, but it may be a week or two, what happens is the pipes, that water the sewage needs to be pulled into the sewage treatment plant. So it's, in other words, electric pump. And the water needs to be pumped, through the system to get to your house. It's not like gravity fed. This isn't the Roman aqueducts. And the sewers don't just, function. Like it just keeps going down and flowing. All right? Because it's got to go uphill and all. See what I'm saying? So sometimes the power goes out and people are still flushing their toilets and they got water. Sometimes they say water boil advisories because they know that we're just using it, there's problems like that. You've heard that term, water boil advisory type of thing. But after a couple of weeks, it just stops working because the pumps are powered by electricity and the sewage treatment plants are powered by electricity. Now, these people are so, like I say, they're so whacked out. Instead of them worrying about CO2 and us and stuff like that, don't you think that they should be putting windmills or solar panels at sewage treatment plants and water pumping stations instead of along highways and stuff that aren't benefiting the average person? They're just ruining landscapes and killing birds, right? And then they basically fail within, by 2030, most of the windmills will have failed. So that whole concept of like, getting renewable energy. The same with the solar panels. These big solar arrays and stuff, how long do you think they last? They don't last forever. And where is these going to be massive crews in a country the size of the United States? We're just talking the U.S. now. Forget about the world. All right? Where are these going to be, these massive crews, and who's going to manufacture all the replacement parts? And how are you going to fix a windmill if you don't have fossil fuels to put in the cranes that don't run on batteries? Right? Or manufacturing plants. You see, to melt, the fossil fuels that the propeller's made of. Basically, it's plastics, forms of plastic. Or like in the solar panels, the metal grids, the bars, the posts, right? What's going to power a cement truck to come and put these posts in? You think you're going to run a cement truck on batteries? You're not heavy as things are? Yeah, you could make a battery cement truck, but it'll probably make it about a quarter of a mile till it needs a charge. Do you understand how you're being lied, deceived, and you just drank this Kool-Aid and you never ask questions? Because people in the media never ask questions. They're just taking everything on surface value. That's what this whole then what thing is about. I'm wearing the shirt. Then what? You know? Oh, we're going to have renewable 2030. Yeah. Yeah. Then what? Like what? You're not. You're lying. You're not asking questions. You don't know what you don't know. There's already like millions of windmills that are out of commission already. I think in Canada alone, 1 million. California has like windmill graveyards, you know? They're going to melt the steel and all that stuff. You know, what about the bridges that are falling down? I say this all the time. Forging steel girders and then transporting them. You're not going to transport them on some Tesla 18-wheeler. Do you see those things? They're made out of it's like tin, you know? It's tin, aluminum. It's like tin can. We used to call them when I was a kid. They're tin cans. It's like that Bowie song, you know? Floating in a tin can, you know? Space Oddity. Right? It's crazy. There's no realistic, concept. They don't understand farming equipment, heavy equipment that they use on farms now. It's not battery operated. You know? I'll tell you, man, it's just crazy. And I guess this has been
Another hour. Science.
There's some guy with like a flashlight across the street, which is really weird. Like, what's his problem? The only thing is, it looks like that person may be able to see me, but they can't. See, that's the whole thing. Because the way that camera is set up, it looks like it's high, but it's in an area that it's not visible. I have multiple cameras. That's just my cheap USB camera. That's a guy waiting by the bus stop. You see, he was trying to read his bus schedule is my guess. It's like, buddy, you got 10 minutes to wait for the bus. Almost. 7, actually. 6. My security cameras are on a different channel. Hardwired. I don't leave anything up. I have security measures. I am prepared for what I need to be prepared for, even though I live just out on the outskirts of town. But yeah, people are going to go wacko, man. People are going to go wacko in the coming years. I mean, I think people are already going wacko. It's just not getting reported enough. Because a lot of people, see, the hardest hit, the poor haven't been extremely poor who are on the, basically the government is paying their housing and medical insurance and food. They're getting by right now, But people who have a job and people who even have good jobs, they're struggling. You could be making, there goes my lights flashing. That means it's sunrise. They always do that last farewell flash. But, if you're making $50, $60, $70, $80,000, you've got to pay your insurance and all these bills and stuff. And it's like, they're the people who are struggling. So food prices have gone up. In some cases, like I say, things have gone up 25, 33, 50, 100%, doubled in some places, right? Price of gas has stayed up pretty high. It's still pretty at the high spot. You know, that's expensive if you're driving a big SUV and you're commuting to work every frickin' day. Right? And you know, and you've got to pay, you know, all kinds, health insurance and all these other things. Think about it. So like you know, those are the people who are going to start to crack. And even people making $10, $15 an hour, you know, they raised the minimum wage and stuff. Well, once you're in that category, well, then you have to have, you know, these small companies aren't covering your health insurance and stuff like that. And like I say, everybody's getting sick right now because they're feeding us poisons. That lady next door, I couldn't believe it. She's like spreading out weed killer. Was she afraid of a couple of dandelions? She knows I have a garden. Is she doing it in spite? She has her own little garden too, like some raised boxes that I had built for her when I used to communicate with her, till I realized she was like this extreme, bigoted, you know, really off the wall freak, you know, really just, yeah, too much. I have an 8-foot wall. It's almost 10 foot at one point because I didn't even want to see her. But I can view these things from my second floor window, third floor attic window. See, there's the bus, told you. But she doesn't even realize that weed killer that she was sprinkling around is going to get in her food. If she's got tomato plants and stuff that, you know, are going to take that groundwater and stuff, you know, that all those carcinogens are going to be in that. She's going to be hardest hit. See, the one good thing about I grow my foods that have water, you know, water-based foods, like things like squash, tomatoes, cucumbers, you know, even peppers and stuff, though they're not that water-based. But things that are non-leafy, you know, radishes, non-leafy vegetables and fruits, I have them separated by a concrete sidewalk that goes down the center of my yard. So at the very least, even if there's some leaching, you know, and along the fence between us, I have these Rose of Sharon bushes that will soak up a lot of stuff too, you know. So they're like I have a couple lines at the fence, and like I said, I'm also concreting anything there just because I've had to, and I still have to. I have to buy like 4 bags of concrete today or tomorrow because I found a few more rat holes. It's just one rat, one wild rat, and it's actually living. There was a smaller rat that may still there that has a nest in her yard. But there's a bigger one that may be a couple, you know. I only see one at a time because the smaller rat, I think, was like they kick it out of the nest. But it's 2 doors down, on the other side of her place. So I just have to block all those entrances up with concrete and just keep them, you know, because I think I'm the one who already chased it out of her yard. She should be thankful to me. So it moved down the other direction. Because there's nowhere for it to move like on the other side of my house. Because on the other side of my house is just an open drive-through. It's not a drive-through, but I mean it's an open area next to a doctor's office where like the nurses and the doctors park. You know, it's just, there's no nesting place. There's no reason for it to go over there. There's cars. There's activity. They don't like activity and people. Like I say, when I'm out in the yard, I never see anything. They just, they stay away from people. They don't like people at all, you know. But anyway, that's that. I wouldn't wish that upon you, but in one way, you know, I will solve that problem. Or it'll be an ongoing issue. But anyway, during the summer, I spend hours. Yesterday, I was outside for almost 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours. if the weather's nice, weather's gonna be nice all this week. So I'll be out 2 to 3 hours every day in the prime time of the day, and have bird feed, there so that all the birds that I feed, that they get their food and the rats don't eat it. And I'll be, doing little other things to shore up my vegetables and stuff to make sure that they don't get any ideas of coming down and trying to eat my beans or whatever. Like I say, I don't think I'll I think I'll wait one more day. I'm itching to put in my, I have like a pepper plant, a couple tomato plants and stuff. I'm really itching to put them in the ground, but I think I should wait one more day because we're supposed to be tonight. I think I said, I have to look here in my computer thing. Yeah, tonight's going to be 43 degrees. That's just a little, because it's 39 now, but it's supposed to jump up to 45 like real quick, and then 52, and then it's going to be 68 degrees today. But it's 39, so that's like kind of frost. It's not frost, but it's frost. And most of the plants I have out now, they can handle that, like a high 30s, low 40s. Lettuces and kales and radishes, they're what they call cool weather crops. So they don't die off, cilantro, sage, oregano. These are the things I have out there now that are doing decent. And if you go to my Instagram page, you can take a look at them. Before the rains, we had 2 days of nonstop rain. So I'm figuring if we get 4 days of nonstop sun, those things are just going to boom. I'll be eating my own lettuce next week. Not this week, but next week. Whatever the weather's like, I'll be eating my own lettuce. I'll probably be eating I'll probably be eating my own kale.
Really funny. Really funny.
You guys laugh at like things like that. Excuse me. I'll be eating my own kale today. So, and I may pull a radish out, so, and see what else is there, but, I might take a leaf off of my Swiss chard. It looks like I have a pretty big Swiss chard leaf. Because I don't know if I want to do pasta again. I'm trying to keep healthy, but I'm also trying to keep my weight at a good level. And I don't want to be sitting around eating pasta every day. So and I'd also at the same time, I'm not trying to not overdo the workout thing. This is what I started the show off. I was trying to say before, and this show's not going to last too much longer. But it's the idea that, as you get older, you got to take it, you have to take your age into consideration. So when you're a teen, when I played football and you're running sprint, they used to make us run 100 miles or 100-yard sprints, in training and all that, football, summer camp, summer football training camp and stuff like that. Yeah, you're 16, 17, 18 years old. Yeah, you could do all that stuff. When you're in your 20s, I was on the swim team in college for 1 year, I think, or so. I played different sports here and there. I never really stuck with them, though, because I was more into the arts, music, thinking, and then business and ideas, and I was moving around a lot. But, you can do these high aerobic type of stuff. I mean, unless you're a professional athlete, it's a different story. But then, you watch all these videos about professional athletes that die, they don't make it that long. I saw something the other day. It was like all these muscle guys, dying young, I mean, not all, but as you get into your 30s and 40s, and once you hit like 50 and stuff, you can't, like I said, unless you're a professional athlete and you want to take that chance, but it is a chance. You know, you have to basically know your age, and, you know, and I think dietary, and you don't need as much exercise. It's like the really old people, you know, an older person, you know, somebody in some care facility or something like that, exercise for them is just walking around. You know what I mean? Doing stuff like that, and a little bit of, you know, leg lifts and arm things, you know, stuff like that. Physical therapy, simple, you know, once you hit 80 something, you know, even 70s, and like I say, unless you've been some kind of crazy active person, you know, there's a lot of people will tell you, even jogging and stuff, after a certain point, you know, shaking all those organs and stuff up isn't necessarily a good idea. You don't know what's inside there. It's like I had kidney stone, some big kidney stone. I had to have a kidney operation like several years ago because there was this big kidney stone in there that they said was probably there forever, practically. And there was a big argument about whether or not they should. My doctor said, well, I don't know. He was like, he didn't think I needed to have it taken out. But the other surgeon said, you know, it could break up and then cause a problem. And I finally said, all right, go ahead. And they went in there, and that was a whole big ordeal. It took them 3 different attempts. It was a major hassle. And then after that, they discovered I had cancer and had a radical prostatectomy. Yeah, that was fun. And then last year, they were telling me they want to take my gallbladder out, which I haven't let them do. I'm just trying to eat healthy and just avoid that altogether. I don't want that out. Because that has too many, that's a necessary organ, even though they try to play it out. Surgeons make a lot of money on operations, right? Pharmaceutical companies, big pharma, make a lot of money on drugs and things like that. Big med, you know, put them all on together. Like, you know, people don't want to hear that, but, you know, I always said, you know, give me a couple, you know, instead of giving $1 billion to some war effort, you know, to send people missiles to kill people, give me $1 billion. I'll put a crack team together and we'll cure cancer and gallbladder disease and other things. We'll cure it all in 90 days. All right. Of course, I'll end up like this. You know, don't try to mess with the system. Don't buck the system. All right. The people in charge, or they'll take you out. That's why the cult of personality thing doesn't matter. And what I'm trying to tell you is that no politician is really, you have to understand the power of the corporatocracy. The media and the politicians are marionettes. They're puppets, man. And, you know, that's just the way it is. And if you don't let them pull your strings, it's curtains. And everything that they're telling you is wrong. It's all hypocrisy for profit. Right? Everything you know is wrong. You don't know what you don't know. And, you know, when you see these people protest and say, we need this, we need that, right? With their cardboard sign and stick, you know, you tell them, then what? Right? Then what? Ignore the media, man. Get my shirt, be nice, too. When you see these sourpuss people. Tell people, I'll tell you this every day. But anyway, I live in a house that my mortgage, taxes, and insurance are $200 a month. And look, that's not a bad neighborhood. And you think that house across the street looks nasty? I had to say this yesterday. I have to say it all the time until they finish it. They'll be back at work probably this week on it. They're remodeling that place. You know, the whole place. New siding, whatever. That's going to be a nice looking rental, you know. And next to it's a beautiful apartment building, brick apartment building. And that's a hardware store in the corner. And down the street, further down the street, there's some architectural, beautiful buildings, like Victorian architecture. A lot of that gingerbread stuff at the top and stuff. I bought my mortgage, taxes, and insurance, $200. Yeah, I bought at the right time. You know, it's the main street. There's heavy traffic, but it's at the it's the end of town. But there's enough traffic to keep the freaks don't want to be around here because this is the path, you know. The cop cars drive by the street, you know. The fire trucks come up here. The ambulances come. This is the path. So it's like you're not going to get roving, you know, troublemakers and stuff around here. And there's nothing here. The supermarket's like a mile down the road. I walk to it in the morning sometimes. I may do that tomorrow. But, yeah, that thing may get totally smashed and grabbed if, you know, when the fit hits the shan. But there's nothing up here for them, you know. So they're just, you know, what are they going to do? I don't know if you can tell, but this window, you see the top of that window, there's like a, looks like it's frame. But that's actually, it's like a 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch particle board, because this was a big picture window. And I figured when the fit hits the shan, I didn't want, you know, so I put it and painted it the same color as the frame, so it just fit in, and allowing people in the neighborhood and stuff to get used to it for a couple of years now, so that they don't think that's a picture window. And my idea, and I haven't done it yet, but is to have another companion piece inside that I could screw and bolt in, so that, you know, just to even further secure it. And I've got, you know, double door, secure, thick, real solid wood door and stuff. And I've got a double door entrance to my back. You know, it takes 2 doors to get into, you know, and windows with security things on them. The side of my house behind me, which faces a doctor's office, the only window on it is on the 2nd floor. There's no windows on the ground floor. No place for some idiot to climb in. Yeah. That's the kind of stuff, you know, you got to do. I picked this place right out. I have some problems. I got that leaky roof problem. Sucks. And I got a rodent in the backyard that I got to deal with. Those are my 2 priorities right now. You know, I'll deal with them. Struggle of life. That, and of course my cat was sick. He's doing a little bit better now. But yeah, I'm kind of, you know, other than that, I'm lonely a lot, like somebody once said. So anyway, be that as it may.
Good morning.
Visit ROCKFLUX.com, TonyCaravanLive.com. It's the same site. It's just a page with links. Just scroll down and you'll see links to my wear. You can get the Be Nice shirt. I say this all the time. It's available in military green too, which looks really good because with that stencil type on it, it kind of really comes off, you know, like it's a statement. And they come in everything comes in hoodies, tees, men's, women's, all sizes, from like extra small to like 5XL. I mean, it's ridiculous. There's accessories. You got to click around. Great solar stuff, more than little portable solar things that you can use to keep your house, just some of your appliances going. Check it out. I've got stuff there, power backup. I use it. Everything's been tested by me. And my books, Then What and Codex, are like companion pieces to this show. Get the print versions. You got to get the print versions. All right, man. Take it easy. All the best. Cheers. Maybe I'll talk to you soon. I'm getting fed up with YouTube, though, cutting me out.